Hey there, and welcome to Adventures in Messaging. I'm Emma Stratton, and today I am so excited to be joined by Steve Feyer, Director of Product Marketing at Eightfold AI. Hey, Steve, welcome.
Thanks, Emma. It's great to be here.
It is good to have you, and I'm so excited to talk to you because I know you are a product marketer who is not afraid of a little bit of controversy when it comes to creating messaging that stands out in the space.
Hopefully, a little bit of controversy, but yes, that's right. I like to try to go out on a little bit of a limb and see how people will react.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting thing because when I look at a lot of messaging out there, a lot of it is very safe, right? You've got a lot of people saying the same thing and using a lot of the same language. So, how do you think people should approach being different, saying something a little different, or maybe getting close to that controversial stance?
It's easy to be safe. It's easy to say what everyone else is saying. But here's how I want you to think about it. What do you click on when you're online? What do you comment on? What do you share? What actually gets you excited to read and think about it further? And that's not the same thing that everyone else is saying. It's something that is a little bit different, is a little bit more controversial. Which is not to say that you want to go way out on a limb so that the branch breaks. You do need to, you don't want to be trending for the wrong reason. So go out and be a little bit controversial. Say something that someone else isn't saying, and that is going to get a little bit of attention. You shouldn't be afraid if someone else is going to have the negative response. Someone might, as long as not too many people are, because ultimately you're trying to get people to think about your brand as being something different, being something important and interesting, because you're not trying to close the deal all on your own. You're just trying to get those names and get those interactions at the top of the funnel for your business. I'll give an example for you, Emma. My company, Eightfold, provides technology for recruiting, among other things. And we have features that are very supportive of diversity, equity, and inclusion and preventing bias in recruiting. I do feel very strongly about this. And I encourage us to lean in, and I message on this topic. And I talk about it, and I make it an important part of what we do. I think that is a little bit controversial because I do see others in our market staying away from that topic, even if they could have something to say about it, because they don't want to feel like they could make a mistake. Well, I do see, I'm on the webinars, I see the inbound. There's occasionally negative reactions. People may have some skepticism, or they don't like that we're talking about it, or that I'm talking about it, and I understand that. But I also see that it is a very effective topic.
Yeah, I like what you're talking about. It's this idea of fear and being afraid of it going wrong, kind of holding you back from really trying to become relevant, get in the conversation, and really connect with people and connect the dots between what's going on in the world and your product. So I think that's great advice. So you're talking about being different and not being afraid to say something that's interesting. I mean, what's some other advice that you would share for crafting great messaging?
That's really important because there's so much messaging that you don't know what company it's associated with.
Yeah.
Right? It could be any company. And the reality is to have some messaging or language that is uniquely associated with you would take you years, takes a lot of investment. You can't do that overnight. But to start to get there, you need to be exciting. You need to have something that's going to really, really grab your buyer audience and get them to really think about what you were saying and be meaningful to them. And that's going to mean that you need to be different. And yes, maybe a little controversial, but also supported by your product. And that can be a narrow needle thread, but you can do it. And when you've done that as well, I think to have that message be really good, there's another important factor, which is it needs to be understandable and readable. Even if you're selling to a technical audience, even if you're selling to PhD academics, you want your reading level to be, I always say, ninth grade reading level. Have it be smart, but not unintelligible. So if you're using words like unintelligible, you should probably simplify. a good thing that I always do, I always try to make sure that I write something. I know I'm going to overwrite. I'm going to have too many words. It's going to be too dense. It's going to be too many commas. It's going to be too many syllables. So I'll write it. Then I'll put it down for 48 hours if I can, 2 sleeps. And then I'll come back, and I will usually cut out a third of the words that I've put there and simplify. It's going to be some shorter sentences. There's going to be some ways that the language will then start to naturally create a little bit of the emphasis. And I find that ends up with a much tighter messaging, whether it's going to be for headlines and subject lines of data sheets, whether it's going to be on a website, even if it's going to be something like talk tracks for slides. I'll find that any of this kind of language is going to end up being much better. But that's the process that works for me.
Wow, I'm really intrigued by 2 sleeps, not 1, not 24 hours, but that second day really gives you that distance, you think, that perspective to really be able to ruthlessly edit down your work. That's what you found?
Well, it works for me. And I'll be honest, Emma, one of the reasons why I say that to myself is to make sure that I am not procrastinating too much. So if I have left myself several business days to work on it, then I know I have left enough time.
That is so funny. So you've talked about simplicity, ninth grade reading level and being different and not shying away from controversy. What about research? Like, how do you figure out what's exciting to your buyer or what they want to hear about? How do you do that?
It's important to know what others are saying and what others will react to. And you can't always get it right the first time. You probably won't. One thing I'll always do with new messaging is go to see what my competitors and partners are saying. And I'll go look at their website, go look at some of the things that are on their most prominent data sheet or their commercial video, whatever they have, and just copy what they're saying for 5, 10, 15 other organizations. Not because I'm going to copy it, but just because I want to see that trend, see some of the words that they're using, see what they're saying. And then I want to take what I end up writing and make sure that there's time to review that as well, especially for something new or something that's going through a full revision. I want to make sure I have at least a couple of advisors or customers or partners, even someone else who's got that buyer persona who I can review it with, but not a close friend. I think we probably all have someone we know in our personal lives who would be our buyer. Maybe they did buy from you, became your friend later, but they're just gonna tell you you're great. So don't trust them to give you that hard advice about, no, this doesn't connect. This thing you're saying right here, that's what people were telling me 10 years ago. This thing right here, I don't know what you're trying to say. You may find that you're completely off base, and that's okay, because product marketing is always hard. You're always going to be wrong to some degree. You just have to try to do better than last time and use that advice. And then hopefully that will give you not only a great result, but then some of that ammunition. Let's be honest, you're going to talk to your boss. You're going to be defending this to your executives, maybe even your founder, right? And they have strong opinions. They know as well. And you want to be able to say, well, no, I've reviewed this with people who really know, and this is why I think it's good. And they'll give you some advice and some changes as well, and you can incorporate those. And if you're set up to do it, do a little testing. But ultimately, you want to be in a good position to defend it when you have to then get it to the finish line internally, because that's often the toughest thing to do.
Yes, absolutely. Getting it through to the finish line internally. I totally agree there. That's some really, really good advice. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of these great insights into crafting, exciting messaging. I mean, I love that that's something you really focus on, especially like in a tech-driven space. It's nice to see excitement coming through. Okay, Steve, so tell me, if you could banish one word or phrase from product marketing for all of eternity, what would it be and why?
Well, Emma, I would banish the word user.
Oh, that's a good one.
Don't call me a user. Either do 2 things, okay? Either address me by who I'm supposed to be, my title, something that says you know who you're trying to talk to, or just put it in the second person, say, here's what you can do. You can do this, you can do that. But don't just say the user does this. Leave it for the support documentation.
Thank you for saying that. I totally agree. When you think about the other use case of user, it is not nice. And so why are we calling, our lovely customers who are humans users? So thank you. I'm with you on that one. Let's get rid of it.